Welcome back to Coach Bill's Sports Show. As always, I'm Coach Bill. Once again, thank you for joining us. Sorry about the break, guys. Stuff comes up in life and you got to take care of it, right? But we're back. Been working on some stuff. I'm happy to present it. We're going to be coming out with hopefully 3 shows a week. It's what our goal is. It's what we're shooting for. So, without further ado, we're going to get into today's show. Let's huddle up and let's get into it. All right. So, nope, that's not it. That's it. There we go. Boom. That's right. Coach Bill's Sports Show's college football rankings. Been working on a little algorithm of my own because, let's face it, the polls aren't the best thing in the world. But I think this algorithm's going to help us out, kind of show us who's better, who's worse, and where we stand. Just a couple little facts about the algorithm we're working with. It's always changing, always updating. So things could change week to week. It puts a huge emphasis on road wins against ranked teams. I think that's where you show the most as a team, is being able to go on the road to a ranked opponent and beat them in their house. So personally, that's one of the biggest bonuses you can get. That and a shutout are the 2 biggest bonuses you can get in this. But without further ado, let's get down to it. All right, so we're going to show you the top 25 today. Starting off, going 25 to 1. First things first, we got West Virginia Mountaineers, Arkansas, Notre Dame, BYU, and NC State. NC State's loss to Clemson definitely hurt them, but it didn't hurt them as bad as other losses have hurt other teams. I do think with Notre Dame in particularly, here either this week or the next week, they're probably going to drop out. From what I've seen with the trends, they are going down, and they're going down fast. Arkansas is still hanging in there in the top 25, even with that big loss to Alabama. But keeping their hopes alive, right? So, now to 20 through 16, we got USC, Texas A&M, Florida, Texas Tech, and Ole Miss. Florida in particular is one I want to talk. Florida, Texas A&M, and USC are the ones I want to touch on in this one. Ole Miss is climbing, and it's climbing fast. That's about all I will go into on that one. Florida, it's representing Florida at its best. And Florida is a good team. Need to get healthy. They definitely need to get healthy. But they're a strong team. They showed that with a win against Utah. They battled back against Tennessee in Knoxville. So Florida's not a bad team. Their record is definitely different from what my algorithm and honestly what my eye test tells me. It's a better team than we're giving them credit for. Texas A&M is one of those that's falling. They had high preseason rankings, and the more we get into the season, the more we're seeing those kind of dissipate as far as how much weight they hold. So right now they're still holding a little bit of weight, but the more we get into the season, the more games we play, the more we're seeing from them. USC is, in my opinion, the second best team out west. According to the rankings, it's a little different. I think, though, as the season progresses for USC, we're going to see that they are going to start climbing, and they're going to start climbing fast. They haven't had the toughest schedule to begin with, but definitely going to start climbing here in the near future. All right, now 15 to 11. So 15 Oregon, high preseason rankings, tough games early on with BYU and Georgia early on. But the 3 I want to talk about in this one are TCU, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. TCU first. TCU is it's a team to be worried about if you play them in conference. They have shown they are not backing down anybody. They're putting up points and they're stopping people. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal. TCU's got some stuff to prove, and they'll be proving it here relatively soon in the next coming weeks. Kentucky, yeah, they had that loss on the road, but it was against Ole Miss. It was a tough road opponent for them. They're going to have some time to kind of get themselves back in order, but Georgia and Tennessee are still on their schedule, so tough life for them ahead. Oklahoma, so if we had been able to put this out just a week ago, Oklahoma was sitting around 6 or 7. That loss dropped them to 13. So Oklahoma is, how do I say this nicely? Oklahoma is living off of the names of the coaches that have been there, Venables who just showed up, but it's going to take some time for them to build back up to the level. Ooh, sorry about that. The level we're used to seeing Oklahoma at. But it'll happen. I have faith in Venables. He's going to bring a defense to that school that is tough to play, but once he gets his players in it, it's tough to beat. With that being said, the move into the SEC is really going to be tough for Oklahoma if they can't get themselves together before then. But let's go ahead and break into the top 10. At number 10, we got Wake Forest. Wake Forest showed a lot with playing Clemson as tight as they did. The road win against a ranked Florida State team at the time. And they are a scarier team in the ACC. They won't win the ACC because they lost the tiebreaker with Clemson. But in the bowl games, they're going to be a scary team to play. Very scary team to play. Next up, we have Baylor. Baylor with the next opponent on here is pretty much going to decide the Big 12. TCU may have something to say about it, but I think it really comes down to Baylor and who's coming next. Number 8, Oklahoma State. I think between either Oklahoma State or Baylor, you've got your Big 12 champion. They are definitely going to be – that game is definitely going to be a spotlight game for me when they play each other. Next on the list, after a bye week, they did take a couple steps back just because everybody else could play. But number 7, Tennessee. Josh Heupel has that team really doing some things. And with 4 of their next 5 games against a ranked opponent, I believe 2 of them are on the road as well, we could see Tennessee climb. It's a possibility. I don't want to say it's a likelihood, but it's a possibility. The concern I have for Tennessee is they're going on the road against LSU this week. If they get that win, the hype that'll be around the Alabama game, can they sustain a loss in that game? Because there will be a ton of hype around that Alabama game. And they need to be able to survive it because they still have Georgia and Kentucky up ahead as well. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks for Tennessee. Next up, we got Michigan. I think Michigan is a solid team. So I don't mean any disrespect by this, but I believe when Michigan plays Ohio State at the end of the season, Ohio State is going to demolish them, and that'll drop Michigan down. Luckily, Michigan will be the number 2 team in their conference, and will end up at the Rose Bowl because Ohio State is definitely going to the national championship playoff. But consolation prize is a Rose Bowl. That's not a bad consolation prize. Team they might be playing in the Rose Bowl, Utah. I'm still high on Utah. I know they lost a tight game against Florida early on in the season, first game of the season. But since then, they've looked the team that I expected from them. This week against UCLA, who is an undefeated team, and the USC games are really going to show a lot about Utah. But as it stands right now, they're on the outside looking in. They have a chance to make it. The gap between them and the next four in my algorithm is, I don't want to say ridiculous, but it's wide. So, speaking of the next four, number 4, Ohio State. Yes, I have Ohio State at number 4. It's less against Ohio State and more about the schedule they've played. It doesn't take into a lot of account Notre Dame because of them, what they've shown since, and Ohio State is a solid team. They will probably win the Big Ten and probably make the college football playoffs. But what I've seen from the other top 3, there's a gap here. There's a clear ledge in my algorithm between number 3 and number 4, and then there's another clear ledge between number 4 and the rest of the top 10. So Ohio State's kind of in that in-between spot right now. Hopefully, with the games they still have to play, they may rise, but it depends on the top 3. So at number 3, we have Georgia. The close win against Missouri really hurt them as far as being compared to 3 and 2, and their schedule. They really haven't, since the Oregon game, they really haven't played anybody, and that is hurting them, at least in my algorithm, for positioning. I'm not saying Georgia isn't a good team. They're a good team, but they've shown weaknesses in the running back room. They've shown weaknesses at the wide receiver. Their defense is young, and they show their inexperience sometimes. And when you play a team that's coming up ahead for them, like Kentucky, like Tennessee, where you're going to have to be able to score with them, that's scary for a Georgia team right now. Now, where they are dominant is that tight end position. You're going to have to figure out how to play that tight end position to defend against that tight end position, and Missouri kind of gave you a little bit of a blueprint. Missouri's offense was stalled out, and that's the only real reason that Georgia won that game is because they were able to stall that offense. But against a Kentucky or a Tennessee, I don't think that happens as easily. So that's a scary spot for me with Georgia. So top 2, one of them is going to be a little bit of a surprise because it's Clemson. Clemson has shown me some stuff over the past few weeks that I didn't think they were able to do this year. And I'll be the first one to apologize. I'll look at Coach Sweeney and say I'm sorry. Man to man, I am sorry. I didn't think DJ was able to do it. I didn't think DJ was going to be the passer he needed to be. He was not making the reads. He was not doing all these things early in the season. But somewhere along the lines, they figured out what they needed to do to unlock DJ. And since that point in time, offensively, they've been better. I won't say they've been great. They still have room for improvement. But their recent scheduling of being able to play ranked teams has shown me a lot for that team. Plus, that defense isn't at full strength, and it's still doing well against an NC State team that is a solid team. Wake Forest, while they did give up a ton of points, they also made key stops when they needed to. So Clemson has shown me some stuff over the past few weeks, especially at the quarterback position with DJ. I was one of the ones who was sitting here saying, hey, it could be Kubnik. It could be Kubnik. But DJ's shown me some stuff over the past few days that makes me believe he's going to be there until the end of the season. And that's not a bad thing for Clemson. Not at all. So I know everybody knows it, but let's just go ahead and hit it. Number 1, Alabama. What they showed me at Arkansas this past week is why they're number 1. Being able to win on the road against a ranked team with your backup quarterback, there's a lot built into that. Now, do I think they could do that against a pass-heavy team? That is yet to be seen with that backup quarterback. He is very much a one-read-and-go kind of quarterback right now, but he's a true freshman. So, and he was pushed into service. He didn't have much time to prepare. So, they narrowed down the playbook and they let him go. If I am Alabama this week, though, with Texas A&M, I'm sitting Bryce Young. I'm letting that quarterback play, the backup quarterback play, and I'm running a read option down their throat every single play with him and Jahmyr Gibbs until they stop me. And guess what? Texas A&M's defense is atrocious, and they're not going to be able to stop it. Run that ball down their throat, old school Alabama football, and let's Alabama get out of the game, get Bryce healthy, and let's get to a trip to Knoxville, Tennessee, where it should be a top 10 matchup, could even be a top 5 matchup. I know Tennessee's sitting right now at 7 for me. It's 8 in one of the polls, or both of the polls. They're somewhere in there, but I think there's a possibility with Tennessee going on the road against LSU this week. If it's a resounding win and maybe somebody trips up above them, it could be a top 5 matchup, which is huge. It's always big when you have top 5 matchups in the regular season. Well, there's my top 25. Later on in the season, we'll go through the full algorithm, let y'all see behind the curtain a little bit, and see how I actually put this all together. So that's where we're at. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please like, comment, subscribe. Help us build up this channel. I'd love to be doing this full time, but got to pay the bills, right? So we're back. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Ready, break.